Heather Gray, the Lyme Boss here. I'm a functional diagnostic nutrition practitioner and bioenergetic practitioner. And maybe you feel like crap. And that's why you need to listen to these high-level experts that I have on my show every week, whether it's Lyme disease, mold toxicity, autoimmune, mental health issues, weight, cancer, you fill in the blank. I guarantee you, you will find something inspiring, entertaining, something that'll give you hope, practical advice that you can take home at the end of every episode. I highly thank you for joining us, and you're going to just love this next guest. Gupta from the Gupta Method. I've been listening. I've known about his stuff for years and just absolutely love, love, love what he's doing. And I'm so enamored that he said yes to be on the show. And I can't wait to dive in deeper and to find out more on like how he came up with this method and what he's up to these days and all that fun stuff. So let's welcome Gupta. Here we go.
Thank you, Heather. What a wonderful introduction. I really appreciate that. I'm so grateful to be on your show. I've heard about it
Absolutely.
before, so great to be here.
Yay. So I know a lot of us have a story, right? We usually don't typically get into this line of work and come up with these amazing things without our own kind of skin in the game type of thing. So I'd love to hear a little bit about your background and how the Gupta method came about and all this fun stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, many of us came into this industry in this area because we wanted to help others based on our own experiences. And that's what happened to me. So many years ago in the mid 90s, I actually suffered from ME and chronic fatigue syndrome. And I was studying as an undergrad at Cambridge. And here I was, this young guy, had this whole life ahead of me. And suddenly this brick wall where I had a virus, didn't recover from the virus, and just felt worse and worse and worse. To the point at which, in my worst days, I could hardly even concentrate on the words on a book. I had to crawl to the bathroom, no energy, massive brain fog, not able to, even read words on a page. It got so bad to the point at which obviously I had to quit that particular year and then start again the following year. And that started my lifelong quest to try and understand these conditions, because I go from doctor to doctor and they would say, we don't know what causes it. We have no proof it exists. There's nothing we can do about it. You might have it for the rest of your life. Goodbye. And I was not happy with that kind of diagnosis and prognosis. So I decided I want to understand these conditions. So I researched brain neurology, physiology, and I came up with a hypothesis as to what I thought caused these conditions. And in an ad hoc way, I managed to retrain my brain. And within months, I managed to get myself 80, 90, and then 100% better. And I'd met so many other people around me. And I made a contract with the universe. I said, look, if I get myself well, I will dedicate the rest of my life to helping others with this condition, because there's so much untold suffering that's out there as a result of these conditions. So I then set up a clinic to treat others, published my medical hypothesis, and I've been on a beautiful and incredible journey since then in having the opportunity to work with so many amazing people and support their healing. And obviously, we've published other medical research since then as well, and published our program as an app now. So yeah, I'm just always grateful for what seemed at the time a horrible situation has really been something that's provided me profound fulfillment in my own life.
Ah, you've already given me goosebumps a couple of times because we're speaking the same language, and I knew we would. Quite often I talk about the gifts of Lyme disease and the people who are still kind of really in the victim mentality of that disease really want to shoot me, and I get death threats and all kinds of funny stuff. But there really is like I truly believe that these illnesses were brought to our lives, for us to shake us up and figure something out and then, be the light, right, for others. So that's amazing. So what is then your background technically?
So in terms of my training, my
Yeah.
background in that sense, yeah. So I have trained in lots of alternative and complementary therapies, so NLP, hypnotherapy, meditation, and breathing. But actually, the system I've created is a neuroplasticity approach. So it's very different to all those traditional areas of therapy. It's really saying, how do we target the neuroplasticity of the brain? So neuroplasticity is the idea that the brain is inherently flexible. It's not fixed. We used to think it's fixed. But actually, we know neuroplasticity, the brain is flexible right into our old age. And therefore, that's why we can still learn things. We can still learn the piano at the age of 60 or 70 if we really chose to. And in the same way, I believe a lot of these illnesses are caused in the brain, and therefore we can use neuroplasticity to retrain it. And so that's really my background and my area, is developing these customized tools, these repetitive tools to train the brain.
Thank you. You know, we were talking before we came on camera. I was mistakenly calling him doctor, you know, and that's probably why. And I get mistakenly called that as well. Our alternative work, right? Like I've easily gone to school for 10 years and most definitely could have had, you know, a PhD by now if I would have chosen to go the traditional route, right? Which it sounds like with all the training that you've gone through, it could be the same. So maybe that's what I was picking up was that underground doctor. But yeah, we can't call ourselves that. We'll get in trouble. But I just, like I said, I just absolutely love what you're doing. I want to learn more NLP as well because I'm just fascinated by this subject. It was such, you know, as a functional practitioner, I'm so great at taking the supplements, doing the diet, you know, doing the physical things. And then I kept relapsing, and then I kept relapsing, and then I kept relapsing. And then finally, 3 years ago, I, you know, was having an angry moment. I was really reactive. And my husband's like, I'm not going to stay married to an angry person anymore. He's like, I don't know what's going on with you, but you know, we need to figure this out. And then that's when I started diving deeper into trauma, nervous system resetting stuff, and breath work. I used to laugh at breath work, right? Because we breathe, right? We're already breathing. If it works, why isn't it not working for me? But I was a shallow chest breather, right? So I was always in fight or flight. My body could never truly heal. So I guess I'm just fascinated by this type of work. So let's so I, give us a little bit more of a background story of kind of how this method came about.
Yeah, well, I'd love to give a starting point of what I think causes these types of conditions, and then I can go into obviously the treatments, because I think once people understand the hypothesis, most people feel, oh wow, that makes total sense. You know, it's not like something which is completely unexplained, or it's a mystery. We can't figure out these conditions. I believe there's a really logical reason for why we're feeling the way we're feeling. And if we ask that biggest question of all, why are we here? Right now, Heather, I'd love to have a philosophical discussion about the meaning of life and why we're here. But let's take the kind of scientific aspect of that question. Why are we here? We're here because this brain, this nervous system, this body has evolved over millions of years from plant life to single cell organisms to invertebrates, then vertebrates, then reptiles, mammals, and then human beings. And our DNA actually contains a lot of the DNA from that lineage, believe it or not. So we contain, I love this fact, we have about the same DNA, 40% of our DNA is the same as a banana, right? Yeah, isn't that an incredible fact? So what it means is that we are fine-tuned to handle our environment, to respond to our environment, to survive, so that we can pass on our genes to the next generation. Yeah. So from a scientific perspective, we are here because we can survive. We can adapt to our environments. Yeah? And so survival is the number one priority of our brain and our body. So that's the first thing I think we can take as a logical piece of the jigsaw puzzle. And then what happens is we have a nervous system and immune system. So our nervous system is like the electrical circuitry of a car. So you imagine a car, previously when cars went wrong, we used to fix the wheel, fix the engine. But now when your car goes wrong, it's inevitably the electrical system that controls everything that malfunctions, and you take it to the garage and they press the reset button and the whole car suddenly works again. So in the same way, we have that nervous system, which is the electrical information system of our body. And we have our immune system, which is our defensive system. So it defends against bacteria. Let's take the example of Lyme. And I'd like to use an analogy. So Heather, are you a fan of Game of Thrones by any chance?
I'm not. I'm too sensitive. I can't handle the violence.
Too sensitive. Okay, fairy tales. You're a fan of fairy tales.
Absolutely. I love dragons. I wish I could watch it.
I see. Okay, so let's take a fairy tale, and imagine you are now Queen Heather of your kingdom. Okay, so you are what we call the prefrontal cortex. So you are the conscious, rational mind. You're the queen of your kingdom, and your body is the kingdom. Yeah, and your army is the nervous system. Yeah, which defends the castle and the kingdom, and your navy is your immune system, which also defends the castle. Now let's imagine that for whatever reason, the kingdom is in a drought period. So the kingdom's weaker. And therefore, the army and navy are weaker in terms of defending your kingdom. Now, in comes an incoming invader. That could be a virus. That could be a bacterial infection, right? That could be the main Lyme bacteria that's come into your body. Yeah? And at that point in time, the invading army is firing off its arrows, and your nervous system and immune system is firing off its arrows back to try and defend the kingdom. And it valiantly manages to just about fight off the incoming invader. But now your army and navy are traumatized, and they say, look, we only just managed to fight off that invading infection. Dear Queen Heather, we need all the resources of the kingdom. We want all the wheat and the corn and the metal so that we can build more war machines to fire off the nervous system and immune system, to trigger the army and navy into action. Yeah? And now what happens is, even a little man on a horse coming over the hill, they fire off their weapons of war because they're so traumatized by only just managing to survive. Okay. Then what happens is, because the army and navy are so focused on firing off their arrows, they're missing the spies which are now coming into the kingdom. So now inside the kingdom, you have these opportunistic infections. So they can be viruses, they can be bacteria, they can be remnants of the Lyme bacteria that are now flourishing in the kingdom itself. Yeah? And this army and navy are sucking all the resources of the kingdom. So now the police force and the internal secret service, they can't get rid of the spies which are in the body, all these opportunistic infections which are flourishing, which are now causing damage to the kingdom itself. And not only that, the army and navy, as they fire off their arrows, some of those arrows fall back into the kingdom and start damaging the kingdom itself, like an autoimmune condition. Yeah? And all of this is because the army and navy are traumatized. They're over-triggering their defense, which is ironically meaning that the kingdom is getting weaker, causing the brain fog, the exhaustion, the pain. All of those symptoms are because the immune system is not designed to be in battle continually. It's designed to switch on and switch off. Yeah? And that is an analogy of what may be happening in a lot of these types of diseases, where because the immune system is not efficient, it's not effective, it's just firing off randomly. That's why we have so many high inflammatory markers throughout the body. These opportunistic infections get to flourish, and then it can look like the cause of my illness is this chronic Lyme, but that's one of many causes, one of many potential opportunistic infections in the body. And what the brain retraining is, next time you have a meeting with the army generals and the navy generals, it's telling those generals, hey, you've done a great job of defending the kingdom, but now it's time to stand down so that we have more resources that are dedicated to cleaning and detoxing the kingdom of all these spies which have now come into the body. And we have more time to then heal and rest and digest the parasympathetic nervous system. Because this inflammatory response you keep firing off is the very cause of the issue and the problem. You think it's helping, it's not helping anymore. And the generals won't believe you the first time because they say, maybe you're a spy, maybe you're telling us this and it's not right, right? But eventually the brain retraining is informing these generals, stand down, calm down this inflammatory response, calm down this defensive immune system and nervous system response so that we can get into rest, heal, and digest phase. And then the body becomes its own natural detoxifier. It can handle these opportunistic infections, not because the immune system is over-triggered, but because now the immune system is efficient. It's efficiently dealing with what is required versus being in a traumatized state. And that, in a nutshell, is, I believe, the cause of so many different conditions. Is an over-triggered immune system and nervous system that needs to be brought back into balance. And this can explain a lot of neuroimmune conditions like long COVID and Lyme and ME/CFS and fibromyalgia, but also sensitivity reactions like mold illness, food sensitivities. They're all down to a trigger-happy, hypervigilant immune system that now needs to be reset. And that's what we do here at the Gupta Program.
Stand down, soldier. So how is your program different than some of the other programs that are out there right now?
Yeah, this is a really important question because people think that these programs are equivalent. And we like to help people explain that, we were the first to kind of publish our program in 2007. So I've been working with patients since the late 90s. We published our program in 2007 online. And since then, let's just say that been a lot of people who've taken inspiration from our program, but I think they've kind of lost a bit of the really core aspects of it. So our program is very different. Let me explain how. There are other programs out there that are a bit more like a boot camp, that this is the brain retraining, keep repeating this for, let's say, an hour a day, and that's all that matters. And people become, oversensitive and over-triggered by that because it's a lot of intensity And actually, we have a more compassionate, rounded approach where we recognize that it's not just about the brain retraining, but it's also the holistic health aspect that comes with that. So it's still important to eat well and take the supplements, etc., to calm down the nervous system and provide the nutrients which are missing. And it's at the same time relaxing the nervous system. So we do a lot of relaxation work and breathing and meditation to prepare the brain for the retraining. And therefore, those aspects are supremely important. So it's a more compassionate approach. And we also have introduced a lot of new things. So we now have an app. Yeah, and it's much easier to use these types of programs when you have an app. You just open up your phone, get straight into the exercises. And on top of that, we've just introduced something called Daily Gupta Size. And what Daily Gupta Size is that I know for many people listening, with these types of conditions, you can feel quite lonely and isolated at home trying to work this out. And it can be difficult to motivate yourself to put a program into practice. Well, now we have daily Zoom sessions with our expert trained coaches where people can go through the nervous system reset and the brain retraining, and you're led through it. You don't even need to think about it. You just come onto Zoom. Our coaches take care of you. It's this beautiful, loving community. We have hundreds of people coming on every day. And for many retrainers, this has been a game changer for them. And they're getting well within weeks instead of the month that it may have taken, because they now have accountability, they have a loving community, etc. So those are just some of the things that differentiate us from a lot of the other programs out there. And we've been around the longest and have been innovating. And now we have 30 to 40 trained coaches around the world who can support people, and we have a lot of these other resources, community resources that support people.
That sounds amazing. And my brain is all like, ooh, how do I become a coach? Because I absolutely love this type of work. Like I've done somatic experiencing work with Dr. Amy Apigian. I've done a lot of breath work, tapping, bioenergetic work, anything. Because like I said, I was just completely 27 years of undiagnosed Lyme disease, mold toxicity, childhood trauma, heavy metals. It was all just stuck in my nervous system. And I was a wreck. And to be able to get your life back, right, and not be so reactive and have that buffer before you respond, like it was a miracle. And so I absolutely, like I said, you have no idea how much I adore the work that you're doing. Like, I am not blowing sunshine. Like it is just it's truly beautiful stuff that you're doing, and how cool that you're getting people live now too, because that's another trauma, especially since the pandemic. Of lack of community going on, so people can join and be led and be held. Like that's beautiful.
In fact, one of our retrainers said yesterday, we love coming on Daily Gupta Size because it's ridiculously loving. I thought, what a lovely phrase that is, ridiculously loving.
Absolutely. That sounds amazing. So actually, we're getting close to wrapping up here. Is there any other little nuggets that you want to drop for anybody before we leave?
Yeah, there's a lot of something that's also a differentiator in terms of picking a program that's going to work for you. I think it's worth exploring different programs and experimenting. But something that's important is the science behind this. And we're the only program that actually have independent clinical randomized controlled trials that show that our program is effective compared to a control. And we've had randomized controlled trials for long COVID, and that showed that our program was 4 times more effective than a wellness program at reducing fatigue and increasing energy levels. With fibromyalgia, we had a clinical study published in the Journal of Clinical Medicine that showed that within 8 weeks, there was a 40% drop in fibro, 0% in the control. Yeah. And just on Lyme, interestingly, we just did a clinical audit on our patients and what they find beneficial and how they work with our program. And they quoted, I think it's 114% improvement in their symptoms within 3 months using our programs. That's specifically for Lyme disease. And obviously that's not a randomized controlled trial. So we are definitely focused on the science behind this and proving that this is effective rather than hearsay. And that can really give people hope and encouragement that this is objectively effective for my symptoms. And I just want to say, keep going. Whatever state you're in, whatever you've been told, recovery is possible. We see people recovering every day. So always hold on to the belief that you can recover.
Amen. 110%. That's, it's sad how brainwashed we've all become. And that's one thing I like to do, is to stand on top of the mountain and scream, you can't just focus on treatment, right? Like I've had people dismiss the somatic experiencing exercises that I try to teach them. I've had them dismiss the breath work because it's free. And two, it's easy, right? But it's very, very, I tell them all the time, just don't discount because of the simplicity of it, how ridiculously powerful that it is. And so, and it breaks my heart every single time when I see someone leave my program because they just don't see the true value of this type of work. So it is 110%, folks, like the way you digest your food, the way you sleep, like it is great to also then address those physical aspects, but you got to get that nervous system and that brain calm down before anything else is going to work. Like I have, mast cell people who literally are eating like 3 foods. How can you do things with a diet and supplements when they're only, they're reacting to water, so you got to get that system. You got to make those troops stand down.
Exactly. And I think this is the key point, is that your body is your own best healer. When you put your body in the optimal healing state through nervous system regulation and immune system regulation, which is what we focus on, then your body, when it's in that parasympathetic state or more of a parasympathetic state, it is its own best detoxifier, its own best ability to deal with opportunistic infections. It can handle it, but it needs to be in the right state. And therefore, when people dismiss this, what they're not realizing is that scientifically, this makes total sense, that there's not many things externally that can detox your system or that can suddenly get rid of all of these different things. Your system itself has to be in the best state. Get it in the best state, you can take care of yourself. And that's the hope I want to give people.
Mic drop. I love it. I need to get sound effects for the show. Like explosions when someone just drops an amazing truth bomb. But anywho, everybody else, make sure to go visit the show notes because we'll have links on how to find him and his work and, more information about his coaching program and all that fun stuff. Mr. Gupta, thank you again so much for joining me today. I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much, Heather. It's been a pleasure.
Everyone else, make sure and have a healthy day. Stay tuned. Hey there. I used to not be able to drink coffee. I always reacted to it horribly. It hurt my stomach. It made me over jittery and would inflame me and cause histamine issues. But not anymore. Not that since I started drinking Danger Coffee by Dave Asprey. It's his next level of coffees. He came out with Bulletproof, and now this is the next level up. So it is mold-free, toxin-free, and he infuses it with minerals and electrolytes. So unlike other coffees, they can actually pull minerals and electrolytes from your system because it's too acidic. It actually helps replenish those. And so I don't react to it at all. I get to have my bulletproof coffee with my MCC oil and my grass-fed butter, and I don't get the jitters, I don't get the crashes, and I love how focused and energized it makes me feel. Again, non-toxic, mold-free, infused with minerals and electrolytes. I absolutely love Danger Coffee. Make sure to check out my website, thelymeBoss.com. Go to the resource section and get yours. Make sure to share the love. Like, subscribe, and share. This information is potentially life-saving. Don't keep it to yourself. Make sure to help spread this message. And if you want to experience less pain, have a brain that works, and have more energy, it starts in the kitchen. Download my free 8-video cooking series, Real Cooking for Real Life. No more excuses. Take charge of your health. Start with the free video series at www.thelymeboss.com. That's LYME. Thank you. Have a blessed day.